As early as 2019, the Walt Disney Company passed on the theme park rights to Bluey. Now it's a merchandising juggernaut, and Disney's not getting any of that money. In fact, we know someone else who's actually got the theme park rights to the hottest property in children's television and the biggest show on Disney Plus. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here is future Bluey fan, Mr. VashSky. Vash, is this real life? Have you watched this show yet? Do you understand the emotional journey that it takes you on yet?
I have not watched Bluey yet. It's so funny every single time. I really do have to sit down and watch this show because, man, oh man, have people talked about it? And apparently the Walt Disney Company, they had their opportunities to scoop this one up because, man, oh man, is it ever popular? We were just talking about the streaming or the ratings for their streaming shows and how Acolyte fell off, but Bluey, that just stays in the top 10.
Yeah, it's funny. I do like Bluey. I'm not obsessive over it. I do like to joke about what a good show it is because it definitely exceeds expectations. And there are adults who can watch an episode of Bluey, and I'm not going to say that it's going to entertain the blood and guts crowd here or anything like that. But it is shockingly well written. One of the better sitcoms, I would say, of the last 5 years. And it's making money hand over fist. Let's talk about this. This is an article about BBC Studios. By the way, BBC Studios are the ones who are in charge of Bluey merchandise. They were the original offer to Disney was made by BBC Studios to say, hey, do you want to pick up these merchandising rights? Do you want to pick up the theme park rights internationally for this little tiny show here in 2019? We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but let's talk about this one right here. In its annual report, the company also put the spotlight on the success of its key brands. Bluey's popularity soared globally as it became the second most streamed U.S. show in any genre in 2023, according to Nielsen data, with the award-winning children's brand reaching audiences in 140 territories amidst the launch of a game, immersive experiences, books, and other merchandise, boosting sales for consumer products, the report highlighted. It's massive. And there was actually an article out of Bloomberg that talked about how Disney passed in 2019, specifically because they were going to be focusing on brands that would be on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus was supposed to be basically Disney brand utopia over there, and everything that you go and you get on Disney Plus is supposed to build those four pillars of the company, those being Marvel, Star Wars, Disney itself, Pixar, and National Geographic, because they had to justify the Fox purchase. I don't think National Geographic is a pillar brand of Disney, but whatever, to each his own. They wanted to justify that purchase. Anyways, Bloomberg talks about this as maybe a $3 to $4 billion brand at this point, which, by the way, is as much as Disney paid for Star Wars or Lucasfilm, or in that ballpark here for just one show, just one brand. But Vash, I think you've got some things you might want to throw in here.
Yes, I absolutely do. It looks like Bloomberg did have a huge report talking about that, like you said right here. We'll go over this just very briefly. This is a large story, so we're going to go ahead and skip ahead way down here to this paragraph. This is what we want. People at the ABC weren't the only ones who might have been second-guessing their Bluey relationship. A source familiar with Disney's original Bluey deal in 2019 says the company's consumer products division, Chapek's whole division, had the chance at the time to license the show's merchandising and theme park rights from BBC Studios, but it passed on them. That's something Disney now regrets. After all, kids were showing up at its theme parks and getting their first lesson in intellectual property law when they discovered that they got to meet Darth Vader, but not Bingo. Quote, "This is Disney to kids right now," says Scott Gustin. Oh, I think I know Scott Gustin there. A writer who covers theme parks and is a frequent visitor to Disney. People are 100% wondering why there's no tie-in to Bluey on the property. Disney's Davis declines to comment on whether Disney had explored buying Bluey. Ludo, for its part, says Bluey isn't for sale.
This is what's fascinating here, because I know where you're going to go on this. They almost had Bluey in the park at Disney. Bluey has shown up somewhere else. Just to spoiler alert for the rest of this video here, Bluey has shown up at another park, and we'll pin it down for you here. But we've got to point out, Disney almost had Bluey in the park, and it would have been a disaster of legal and epic proportions to have the largest kids brand in the world that is not allowed to be. Anyways, go ahead, Vash. Go ahead.
Well, you're exactly right. It would have been a disaster, which is why. Well, we'll get to it. Bluey arrives at Walt Disney World for a new scavenger hunt experience. Oh, look at that! By Shannon Ace here, November 2nd, 2023. Here at Walt Disney World News today. Looks like Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort launched a Healer Family hide-and-seek scavenger hunt on Thursday, marking the first official use of Bluey at Walt Disney World and Disney parks and resorts in general. Well, that feeling wouldn't last long because 4 days later, this article was posted. Bluey's scavenger hunt at Walt Disney World abruptly ended for unknown reason, this time by Katie Francis here. And it didn't even last 4 days, folks. On Thursday, November 1st, Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort introduced Bluey to Walt Disney World in the form of a scavenger hunt. As of today, November 4th, the hunt has been discontinued. Now, they do speculate that this might have been because of those Bluey rights, and well, I can tell you right now, it was because of those Bluey rights. They just simply did not have them, and so they had to pull this thing immediately. Because like you said, Jonas, it would have been a disaster of legal epic proportions for a $2 billion brand?
Yep. And the biggest brand in children's entertainment right now. And Disney wishes that they could reach the heights of a Bluey when it comes to children's entertainment. To have one show be that popular, they certainly are lucky that it is on Disney Plus at the moment. They should be holding on to that contract for dear life, because 30% of all streaming on Disney Plus is Bluey. Amazing. But as promised here, I just want to point out that yes, we have finally seen Bluey showing up at a theme park. This from a Instagram handle called Disney Happy Haunt. Let's bring it up here. They're playing the Bluey theme tune. We're not going to be so bold as to play the audio on this. You get the idea. Guess who came to Sesame Place today? There she is. That's Bluey. It's not Bingo. I mean, obviously not Bingo. And it's definitely not Bandit. Yep, there she is. This is Sesame Place, which is in Philadelphia. And this is owned by the same company that owns SeaWorld and owns Busch Gardens. What company is that, Vash?
United Parks and Resorts.
That's right. And I'm just going to point out right here, Elmo's Springtacular meet and greet, June 1st and 2nd with special guest Bluey. Right here, you see BBC Studios, you see Ludo. All of this right here is in line with Ludo Studio Pty Ltd. That's what they call corporations over there in Australia, those Pty Ltds. And Sesame Workshop in the bottom right corner. And I'm just going to point out, tickets are no longer available for this particular event. So sorry to hear that, but also this is something that my kids would love to meet Bluey. One in particular would love to meet Bluey. There are also stage shows and things like that you can see. This is one of those things. Bluey is a nice, wholesome show, and that is why it sticks out so much on Disney Plus anymore these days. So who knows if we'll see more Bluey at any of these theme parks going around. There's an immersive experience that's going in Australia. And I think when we say immersive, it's probably something on the small children's activity for a day kind of scale, not in a giant theme park land, not like the Peppa Pig land where they put Peppa Pig next to a roller coaster and do that kind of thing. It's more of a, again, like I said, a children's activity thing. So that being said, bad news to Disney that Bluey is going in over at United Theme Parks, not their second place competitor, but probably their third place competitor, depending on how we view Six Flags and Cedar Fair. I don't know. It's debatable. But wanted to throw this to our commenters and ask, if Bluey shows up at a Sesame Place or at a Busch Gardens or at a SeaWorld, will you be going to see Bluey there? I'm gonna hold out for the Bandit meet and greet myself, though. That being said, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.